I believe we are ready.
Recording in progress.
Good evening, everyone. It being 7 o'clock and a quorum present, I'm going to call this April 23rd meeting of the Planning Board to order. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, this meeting will be conducted via remote and in-person participation. Members of the public who wish to participate in the meeting may do so either in person or via the Zoom meeting application, the link being found on the town's website. First on our agenda this evening, we have our administrative notes. I'm going to begin with minutes. We have minutes for February 12, 2025, February 25, 2025, and April 5 of 2025. Do we have any questions, comments, corrections from the members of the board? Mr. Donaldson, are you good?
I'm good.
Okay. Seeing no comments, I'll entertain a motion, either individually or jointly.
Motion to approve all minutes jointly.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. I have a motion from Mr. Donaldson, a second from Mr. Bennett. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. Mr. Donaldson?
Yes.
Mr. Grandy?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Next on our agenda, we have Form A plans. A, 4898 Pine Hills LLC, 7 and 15 Dawn's Light, 78B, lots 11-432, 11-542, and 11-603, lot line adjustment. Do we have any questions from members of the board? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
It's a motion to endorse.
I have a motion to endorse. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second motion for Mr. Bennett, second for Mr. Donaldson. Any discussion? Seeing none, call for the vote. Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Grandy?
Yes.
Mr. Donaldson?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Next on our agenda, we have a street name approval, B437, Pine Hills, Morris Glen. This is just to name the street itself. Any questions from members of the board? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion from Mr. Grandy to approve.
Second.
Second from Mr. Bennett. Any discussion? Seeing none, call the roll again. Mr. Grandy?
Yes.
Mr. Donaldson?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Next on our agenda are announcements. I am pleased to report that the town's open space plan has been formally approved by the state regulators, making us eligible for certain grants for a period of 10 years. So the open space plan has been adopted, and we have 10 years now of opportunities to seek grants to enhance our open space here in Plymouth. I'd like to thank again the Open Space Committee and town staff for their hard work in doing all of that. And speaking of Open Space Committee, they have a number of announcements they've asked us to pass on. First, this Saturday, April 26th, is the Herring Festival at the Jenny Gristmill. And they ask, please stop by the open space table. They have some great information for everybody regarding trails and open space here in Plymouth. On May 3rd, we have the Hometown Cleanup. Sign up is online at tinyurl.com/Plymouth Spring Cleanup 2025, all one word. On May 10, there is a spring town hike at the Rocky Point Preserve, which is Saturday, May 10th at 11 a.m. All are welcome, but space is limited, so those interested, please register in advance at the town's website on the Recreation Department page. The next Master Plan Forum will be held on May 22nd at 6 p.m. at the Plymouth South Middle School. The focus of this forum is to get feedback on some of the prospective general goals and strategies which are being presented based on the data and community input from prior forums and the surveys to date. All are welcome and encouraged to attend. Next on our agenda, I have public hearing B654, 533 Wareham Road, and I need to read the notice first. The Plymouth Planning Board will hold a public hearing in the 1820 Courtroom, 26 Court Street, Plymouth, on Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025, at 7:05 p.m. to hear the petition of Sheridan Home Builders, Inc. for approval of a special permit required per 207-2 to create a rural density development with 49 total dwelling units per Section 207-7 for inclusionary housing to create 4 affordable dwelling units per Section 207-6 to allow a transfer of development rights for 30 dwelling units, all located at 533 Wareham Road, parcel 120-000-004-000 in the RR zoning district. Petitioner and/or his representative or any person interested in desiring to be heard on this request should appear at the time and place designated. Good evening.
Good evening. For the record, Matt Sheridan, president of Sheridan Home Builders. I just want to give the board a quick summary of how we got here tonight and why I am going to be asking for a continuance until May 14th, until the May 14th meeting. I came in front of the board informally in February to present the concept plan of my subdivision off of Wareham Road. I got some feedback from the board, and upon getting that feedback, I actually then started doing a little bit of community outreach. I had a open house session essentially at Little Red Schoolhouse 2 weeks ago. Probably had 30 residents there that we had notified. Great turnout. We got a lot of good feedback. I actually went to Precinct 17 this past Monday night and received more feedback from the residents. We probably had 30 to 40 people at that Precinct 17 meeting. So it was then that I pretty much decided that I wanted to come in tonight and ask for a continuance, just so that way when I come back in front of the board, I can give a much more thorough presentation and try to address a lot of the neighborhood concerns that I heard. The biggest concern, quite frankly, was traffic. And since my meeting at Little Red Schoolhouse, I've actually been aggressively working with Bill Coyle, James Downey, Mr. Bulletin actually came to one of the meetings, and Charlie Bletzer from the Select Board to already start aggressively working on improvements for the area. So when I come back in front of the board, I just want to be able to say definitively, these are the improvements we're going to make and have DPW's blessing. So with that, I'll certainly answer any questions the board might have, but that's the overall summary of tonight, just looking for a continuance until May 14th.
Okay, do we have any questions for Mr. Sheridan before addressing the issue of a continuance? Mr. Donaldson?
What was the other major concern?
Honestly, the biggest concern was traffic. Nobody seemed alarmed about anything else. The biggest concern was traffic and what I can actually do to try to help the area.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing nothing further, I'll entertain a motion to continue this matter to May 14.
Motion to continue to May 14th.
Mr. Grandy so moves.
Second.
Mr. Bennett seconds. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the roll. Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Grandy?
Yes.
Mr. Donaldson?
Yes.
And myself, yes. So the matters continue till May 14th, at which time we assume that everything will be filed and we'll have a final plan, and public comment will be opened.
Just for, if you wouldn't mind, Mr. Chair, anybody that did come tonight, if you want to talk to me outside, if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to talk to you for a few minutes if you'd like. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sheridan. We appreciate it. Next on our agenda this evening, we have public hearing B437 Pine Hills LLC. The Plymouth Planning Board will hold a public hearing in the 1820 Courtroom, 26 Court Street, Plymouth, Massachusetts, on Wednesday, April 23, 2025, at 7:05 p.m. to hear the petition of Pine Hills LLC for approval of a modified definitive subdivision plan entitled Morris Glen Plan of Land, on land located on Double Brook, located at 0 Double Brook, parcel 077B-000-00A-214 in the OSMU zoning district. The petitioner or his or her representative or any other person interested and desired to be heard on this request should appear at the time and place designated. Good evening.
Good evening. For the record, Deborah Sedaris from the Pine Hills. I think we're just going to get a presentation up on the screen here. Thank you. So we're here tonight for the subdivision, proposed modified subdivision plan for Morris Glen. Just to orient where on the, within the context of the OSMID this area is, and again, to remind people, the butterscotched areas on the master plan graphic in front of us are the areas that were originally designated for residential building within the Pine Hills, and the area that we're talking about is Area 6, which is in this, roughly in this area of the Pine Hills, kind of the northern area of the Pine Hills next to what is now the old Sandwich Golf Course. The first plan that we submitted to the planning board originally showed 5 lots in this subdivision. We subsequently shared this plan and information about the proposed subdivision plan with all of the abutters, including specifically the Pennock Knoll neighborhood, but also the Talcott Pines neighborhood, which is next to Pennock Knoll, and then further down Double Brook Road, the Standing Rock neighborhood, which are basically the 4 with Morris Glen are the 4 neighborhoods that make up what was originally the old Sandwich Golf residential area. However, following discussions with folks, particularly from Pennock Knoll, it became clear that unfortunately there was misinformation given to these the residents in Pennock Knoll that indicated that nothing was going to be built on this lot, and unfortunately that was not correct information. And listening to their concerns, one thing that we decided to do, and what we were also requested to do, which was to reduce the subdivision by 1 lot, make it only 4 lots, thus adding, basically these lots are 80 feet wide, and so that increased the forested buffer between this home on Pennock Knoll and the future neighborhood by another 80 feet, which was something that the owner of this parcel had asked us to do. And so we decided to do that. So the plan that we're actually presenting for your consideration tonight is this plan, which only has 4 lots, not 5. By making this change, the other change to the plan is when this lot, when the 5th lot was still there, the length of the road on this side continued and it exceeded 150 feet. And because of that, it had to have a turnaround similar to what you see on the north side of Morris Glen Road. Because it's now less than 150 feet, the requirement for a turnaround is no longer in place. And so by also reducing this, we're also being able to reduce the length of the road and also therefore the impervious surfaces in that area, or the pervious surfaces in that area. Again, just to orient the relationship between Pennock Knoll with the 4 lots now instead of the 5. There's approximately, on average, about 160 feet of distance now between the back of the owners of the first lot here and the property line of the next, the closest lot in the Morris Glen neighborhood. This is a heavily forested area. This whole remaining parcel, including as it wraps around to Double Brook on both sides and ends at the top here, will be left forested. It will not be built on. This is the extent of the residential building in this location. And it will be subject to an open space covenant with the town of Plymouth, so it will be covenanted forever as open space and not built in. And again, we have committed, we do have to bring sewer utility which now currently terminates here, up through this area. It's a little hard to see, but there is an existing old fire road or trail that actually, sorry, there we go, that actually exists today, and our intention is to, as much as possible, use that existing trail as the location where the sewer line will go, so that we disturb as little as possible in that forested area. If we do have to disturb any of that area, we've also committed to going back in and adding some evergreen plantings to make sure that it feels as forested and protected as it does today. This is an aerial picture that, again, just gives you a sense of how significantly forested this is, and that it will remain that way outside of the four new lots. Again, along Doublebrook on both sides, and in relationship to the golf course and in relationship to the Pennock Knoll homes. The other important thing to note is that the homes are located outside of the 300-foot setback from Old Sandwich Road, which is a requirement of the master plan and the Osmond zoning. I think the other things to just mention, there's, in terms of required setbacks within the interior of the Osmond, there is only a requirement for a 10-foot front yard setback, which will be met here. And there is a minimum lot width of 25 feet, which is met here because these are 80, and a minimum lot area of 6,000 square feet and is met here because these are larger than 6,000 square feet. The type of homes that will be built here are very similar to the homes that have been built in Pennock Knoll, Talcott Pines, and Standing Rock. Portfolio design homes, cottage homes, that kind of quality. We haven't selected a home builder yet, but we are in discussions with two of our existing home builders, Whitman Homes, or Whitman Signature now, and Mackenzie Brothers, who have both built homes in the Pine Hills, are the two home builders that we're talking with about that. By reducing, again, the number of homes to 4, we're also able to, create the distance that was requested from the owner of 5 Pennock Knoll, but also we will be taking down less trees because we won't be taking down a 5th lot worth of trees. So again, we're able to keep this a more wooded area consistent with what it is today. Again, we certainly feel very badly about the fact that folks were told something that wasn't accurate. I can provide an explanation of why I think that happened, but it's certainly not an excuse. If we go back and look at, this was the plan that the planning board approved in 2019, and to orient people, obviously this is Pennock Knoll, this is Talcott Pines. These were the first 2 neighborhoods that were part of the Old Sandwich Golf Residential District, and this is the area where Standing Rock was later located. And this is the area of Morris Glen that we're talking about now. The original plan for Old Sandwich Golf that went back to 2005 was that there would be both the golf course and a private residential neighborhood component to that. And the intention was that there would be 48 homes that would make up that private residential area. And basically that land was this land, all of where Pennock Knoll is, all of where Talcott Pines is, and all of this heading towards the intersection of Stonebridge and Doublebrook Road, heading out that way. Doesn't quite show all the way on this plan. In 2019, when it became clear that since 2005, there were only 3 homes that had been built in this area. 1 home in Pennock Knoll, 1 home that was occupied in Talcott Pines, and a model home in Talcott Pines that had, that was a model home but had not ever been sold or occupied. The feedback that we got from the marketplace was people didn't want to live behind a gate. They wanted to be part of the Pine Hills. And so after discussions with the golf course and determining what sort of made sense, the gate that was formerly located about here on Doublebrook Road was moved to just after Pennock Knoll. And that's where the gate was when the folks who have since bought homes here bought their homes. And at the same time, the Pennock Knoll neighborhood, Talcott Pines neighborhood, and the land that became Standing Rock, all of that land and that portion of Doublebrook Road and the roads in those neighborhoods were transferred from the OS Golf District to the general district, the Pine Hills General Residential District, and became part of that district. And again, the intention at the time was to put the gate here, which it was, and this portion of the land that, again, abuts Doublebrook was still buildable. The area that was not buildable was the area behind I'll call it the last two lots on Pennock Knoll, because that was golf course land that was already built as a golf course, covenanted as a golf course, and could only be kept as open space recreational use. So there was not going to be any building there. Again, I think that the confusion was, oh, the gate's been moved here, nothing's going to get built all over here. Well, that was incorrect. This was going to be, and still was at the time that this plan was approved, buildable land. I can show a colored version, again, from this time period that was meant to explain what was happening. So the yellow land is the land that was moved into the general district and come out of the OS Golf Residential. The pink land stayed in OS Golf Residential. Later, this part of the pink land actually was added into the general district, and there are homes being built here now. We also changed from 4 lots to 3 lots on the Talcott Pines side, so this is a little bit dated. But this area remained as it was. With the proposed change to Morris Glen, and again, this is that sort of triangular piece. The gate has been moved to here, and there will be nothing else built but these 4 lots in this area, but these 4 homes. So again, there was a mistake made, absolutely. There's no excuse for it, but there is an explanation for it, and we certainly are sorry to folks, and because of that, we listened to what folks had to say, and we made the decision to take away that 5th lot, go with the 4 lots, and create a larger forested buffer between the 2 neighborhoods.
Thank you. Before opening it up to public comment, I'm just going to note that we don't have the final the revised 4-unit plan. So I'm going to defer to my fellow board members to just make sure that everybody is comfortable going forward without having a plan. Again, I think your explanation is a good one. Mm-hmm. I think that reducing from 5 lots to 4 lots is readily understandable by this board, but I want to make sure that everyone is comfortable before we go forward. So I'm going to ask my fellow board members, I'm going to poll the board as to whether or not everyone is comfortable proceeding. Mr. Bennett, are you comfortable?
Yes, I am.
Mr. Smith?
I'm comfortable, yes.
Mr. Grandy?
I am comfortable to move forward, yes.
Mr. Donaldson?
I am extremely comfortable moving forward.
Okay, so with that said, we will continue the public hearing on this matter. I'll bring it to staff first.
Thank you. So to echo the discussion that you just had, we have yet to receive this edition of the plan set. We were made aware of it today. The version in your packets was a revised version dated April 14th that still represented a 5-lot division with setback revisions. So we do anticipate receiving a new plan set to represent what you've seen tonight with the 4 lots. I will note that we would recommend any decision that the board were to make would be conditional upon fire re-reviewing this to make sure that they're fine with the turnarounds and the road lengths as presented, and that you just address that prior to signing of any plans for the subdivision. But other than that, no major concerns for staff, particularly as this revision represents a decrease in the density of this particular neighborhood and is also representative of communication with the developer and the neighbors and is accommodating those requests.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here in the audience who wishes to be heard regarding this matter? Please, come forward.
Hi, I'm Catherine Perone. I'm in Penick Knoll, and appreciate the explanation that we got tonight. Appreciate the fact that it's moved down from 5 to 4. I think, I was going to come with my data of what we were told in October of '22 when there was no more lots being built, and made us very wary of what is being shared out there and how much truth there is in it. So, like hearing it. I'm glad it's on the record. I see some neighbors here who probably have something to say, so I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
Thank you. First, is there anyone else in the room wishing to be heard? Please.
Ernest Perron, my wife just spoke. Yeah, so when we purchased the land, we were provided an assurance that there wasn't going to be any further developing going on. And so, we took that as something that justified the lot premium we were paying. And I know, some of our other neighbors that this impacts more, that I think it's a real hit to the value of the land that they own, because they had wonderful privacy. They don't have that now. So, and the other thing I'd like to add is I hadn't heard about Morris Glen until like a month ago. And this seems like it's this has progressed quite a bit at this point. And just to be in the dark and have no say until this is done, seems like it's bad form to me. So I'm happy that they did make the adjustment from 5 to 4, but this was a negative surprise to us and our neighbors. And my concern is, well, what other homes are they going to shoehorn into this area? I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I didn't have these documents to say what was zoned and what wasn't zoned. So it'd be nice to know that this is it. There won't be any further developing going on, and I won't be in front of you in another year. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Sedaris or Mr. Green, if you wish to address two issues, the two issues the gentleman raised. Let me start with the first one that he asked, which was, again, notification in terms of when were residents notified that there was a plan or proposal to build these then 5 units behind them.
Yep. So in the normal course, and this is what we followed with every new subdivision, when the plan is prepared and filed, we certainly do take time to work on iterations of plans. I will say the earliest iteration of this plan actually had 7 homes on it, and we looked at it and said, nope, that's not going to work for us, and we carved it back down to 5, and now we're at 4. So you're kind of seeing how the sausage gets made, frankly, in this process. But what we typically do, and what we did in this instance, is once we had a final plan, and that plan was filed and made public with the planning department and filed with the planning board, then we reached out to the neighborhood, communicated that the plan had been filed, provided them a copy of the plan, included a memo with a description of what was proposed, and gave an opportunity for folks to reach out to me to speak about the plan and answer any questions. And folks did. I followed that up after the first round of meetings and communications. We made, again, when the request was first made to go from 5 to 4, we proposed a half step of reducing, and that's the plan, the revised plan that you have in your packets, to sort of shift the lots and create an additional 25 feet of buffer. And so we proposed that, and then after that, there were, again, more meetings and discussions, and it became clear to us that that wasn't good enough. And so that's when we got to the point now that we're at, where we have the 4 lots. So that's our typical process for informing abutters about modified subdivision plans once they're filed and finalized, and in the public process, that's when we reach out and do an informational meeting or do an informational communication, and again, offer to meet with folks. So that's been our process throughout. Again, as I said previously, with respect to the area where the 4 Morris Glen lots are being located, there will be no further building or no additional lots added in that area at all. All the rest of the acreage behind, I don't know if I can get back to the plan, but all the acreage behind that, thank you. Let me go to all the acreage here. This is all now designated as what the assessor's office refers to as an S lot. And an S lot means that it is open space. A covenant, as I said, will be put in place, and there will be no additional building at all in this area. It's about 4.3 acres, to my recollection, without being able to see the plan. That will all be open space. There is one, again, let me go here, since we have that plan. There, as I mentioned, these 4 lots have since been changed into 3 lots. There remains at the very end of, towards the pond at the end of Talcott Pines, some buildable land. We do not have a plan to build anything there. I think at best, if we ever did, it would be maybe 1 home. But we don't have a plan to do so. We would have to come back before the board if we were to create that lot, and we would notify abutters, and we'd go through this process again. But at this point, we don't have anything planned. But I want to be clear, there is some buildable land out there on that abuts the pond.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else in the room? Seeing no one, we'll go to Zoom. I certainly do see one person at least with their hand up, so.
Patty, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself.
Hi, Patty Winberg. I live at 5 Pennock Knoll, and I have been in communication with Deb, and I'll say thank you to her for listening. They were responsive to our requests, which I appreciate. It takes a little bit of the sting out. It's still this, Morris Glen is right in my backyard, and I was sold a rural setting with privacy and lots of trees and no other houses. I understand how this works, and I know that Pine Hills LLC is in the business of developing land, so I get it. And without putting anything in writing, I understand that I don't have any rights. So again, I do appreciate that they've given a little bit to us. I have one question. The open space covenant, can that ever be modified, or a variance or an appeal or anything?
So I'll defer that to staff, and otherwise I'll answer beyond that.
So there is a process that goes through the state for, a conversion of chapter land that would become a permanently protected. It's a cumbersome process. It's not something we see very often, but if that were to come to that situation, it would require public input and state review.
And on top of that, my understanding, again, is because this is under the OSMD permit, the OSMD has certain restrictions separate and apart from the state law that we've created. So once open space is created and becomes part of the final number that they're required to maintain, that also has to be maintained as open space. So for example, one of the concerns that the town is facing is one of our local golf courses is potentially subject to development now. The OSMD essentially says that that can't happen in the Pine Hills because the golf courses are designated as part of the open space, and Pine Hills has to remain 70% or more open space. So once the final open space number is locked in for the OSMD, I believe that restricts any further changes to that.
Correct.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
It does, but if someone did want to appeal that or modify it, is that under state approval or town approval?
As I understand it, it would probably be both in this situation. I think the town would have to make a change to the OSMA, would have to come to this board, in fact, to make a determination that they are willing to make a change to the OSMID permit. That would be considered a significant change when you're taking something out of open space. And then on top of that, because it has been deeded as conservation land, it then has to go to the state. The state has to approve it as well. It's actually an act of the legislature that has to require, that's, I believe, requires ultimately.
Can I interject a moment?
Please, Mr. Grandy.
I believe to change the OSMID would also have to take a vote of the town meeting members in the town of Plymouth to change the OSMID.
I think we can do certain modifications, otherwise beyond it would have to go to them.
Not a major modification,
No.
you can't.
Nope, I would agree with that. So it would be, let's put it this way, you'd be looking at the acts of at least one, if not two legislatures to actually do it. I don't see that as being a likelihood of happening for a give or take 5-acre parcel. But I can make no promises, but I would just say that history suggests that you're probably in good stead.
Let's just say it's highly unlikely.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else online who wishing to be heard?
If anyone else online would like to speak, please indicate so by raising your hand. I'm seeing no one.
Okay, seeing nothing further, I will entertain a motion to close the public comment.
Motion to close public comment.
I have a motion from Mr. Grandy to close public comment. Do I have a second?
Second?
I have a second from Mr. Bennett. Any further discussion? If not, I'll call the roll. Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Grandy?
Yes.
Mr. Donaldson?
Yes.
Okay, at this point, public comment on this matter is closed. I'll bring it back to the board. Does the board have any further questions or statements that it wants to make? I will start with Mr. Grandy.
Okay, the plan that I have, obviously, we don't have the final version. It doesn't give me a dimension, and obviously I can't scale it off of the computer screen. When you increased it by 25 feet as far as the distance from lot 10-475, you increased it an additional 25 feet on this particular plan, which was and is dated December 4th, 2024. What is that distance? And with the new 4, what is the distance with the new 4 layout?
So is it the distance from Pennock Knoll to,
From lot 10-475, the lot line on the backside of lot 10-475, Patricia A.
yep. So that's,
Winberg.
yep. So it's this plan, and I apologize, it's hard to read, but it is, and I do have a hard copy of it, if that would be helpful, but on the screen, the distance is now 100 and, it ranges from at the corner towards the Morris Glen Street, if you will, so that I guess that would be the eastern corner of the first lot. It's 167.7 feet.
And to the point in the middle?
And the point in the middle is actually from the lot corner of, it's from the building corner of the home at 5, and that's 176.3 feet. And then the, let me go back to this plan. From this corner to here is 153 feet. So it,
And previously with the 5 lots, it was what?
previously, it was, in the original plan, it was about 73 feet at the farthest. So the adding of the 80 feet is what gets you the 153 and the other numbers.
Okay. So you explained what happened, because I did receive a phone call today in regards to this exact situation as far as what they were promised,
Yep.
being the residents who live on Pennock Knoll.
Yep.
This isn't happening in the other areas of the Pine Hills, is it?
No.
I hope not.
No, it isn't.
Because I know we've had a lot of conversations in the past, and I've been the one, and some other members who are no longer here, who decided not to run, or they have since passed away, God rest their souls.
Yeah,
We've always said, hopefully, that when they're not hearing from a broker, a Pine Hill sales representative, promising them the world,
yeah,
and nothing's going to happen around them,
yeah,
and then here it is, something's happening
Yeah.
around them.
yeah,
I understand the OSMID and what the requirements are,
yeah.
but I certainly don't want to see in the future the Pine Hills come back. I don't know what percentage you are at build-out, 80%, 85, I don't know what the number is
Yep.
off the top of my head.
Yep.
But I don't want to get a call from a resident again that they were promised this information and and it's not true.
Yeah, no, it's been a very difficult couple of weeks where we've had to have some very difficult conversations
Right.
internally and with our neighbors. And again, certainly apologized for the misstatements on the part of the agents, but there are employees.
Yeah.
And, we have that responsibility. But it was a mistake. I guess in 25 years, I think it's the first time I've had to have this conversation with this planning board about something like this. Wish I could have kept it to zero, but there was a mistake made, and we did what we thought we should do to try to rectify that. I do think that this, again, is a very heavily wooded area. I can certainly, again, fully respect the concern of Ms. Weinberg at 5, Pennock Knoll, and others, but I do believe that this will have, I think, minimal, if any, impact in terms of the visual experience that folks have with the depth of the forested area, which again is very thick here. And also elevation-wise, there's only about a 2-foot difference between the home at 5 Pennock Knoll and the home that will be built over here.
Yeah, well, I can't see that elevation-wise.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have on a plan showing
Yeah.
the difference in
Yeah.
elevation and
Yeah. No,
what the
it's-
trees look like looking through them. So any change whatsoever, and I agree 100% that a mistake was made, you apologize for it, or moving forward, you drop it to 4 lots.
Yeah.
What I want to ensure is that it doesn't happen again.
So do
is my
I.
point.
So
Okay?
do I. Thank you.
And also, I really would like to, before that we do something, to make sure that we're able to see the actual plan for endorsement, which we don't have with
Sure.
us here this evening.
Yep.
At some point, the board needs to see that plan,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
in a presentation to the members, or do we allow staff to approve a set of plans that we haven't seen? So, those are my questions, and thank you very much, and my comments.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Grandy. Mr. Donaldson, questions, comments?
No, this time.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, questions, comments?
No additional questions.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Bennett,
Yes, I have a couple questions or comments.
please proceed.
Debbie, I imagine you can probably guess where I'm going to go with this. Article 4 of the Planning Board Regulations, Section 412 says monuments shall be installed at all street intersections, all points of change in direction or curvature of streets, and other points where, in the opinion of the board, permanent monuments are necessary. And I know that we've gone down this road a little bit before, and I do see that 2 monuments are proposed.
Yep.
In my opinion, I don't think that's enough. Certainly, if we were to follow the planning board regulations explicitly, you'd be looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 monuments should be installed there on these roads due to all the small curves and everything. I think that a reasonable compromise would be, say, maybe 4 survey monuments along the, I guess that's because north is left on this plan. That would be the north-south longitudinal dimension of Morris Glen. So let's say like 2 right where your cursor is pointing actually right now.
Okay.
1 on each side of the entrance road and
Yep.
1 at each end of Morris Glen.
Here
So
and
that would
here.
enable a surveyor or a homeowner, 50 years from now
Yep.
to determine where those property corners are out there. Otherwise, it's going to have to be run in from Doublebrook, which would essentially double the cost for the homeowner, for the public. So I think as in the best interest of the public that we should have those monuments set. Alternatively, should you choose, and as a benefit to your potential buyers, you could choose to set concrete monuments at all of the lot corners, which would be about 10 or 12. So I'd be happy with either one being shown on the plan.
Well, we will proceed with the 4 that you've requested on the roadway.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you. That's all my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. I just have some wrap-up comments, which is to say, to echo Mr. Grandy's sentiments, which obviously is that this is an uncomfortable situation for a lot of people, including this board, because we want to do right by the residents of the area. We have a very limited role, theoretically, in what we're allowed to approve. When we approve a subdivision, we are limited to approvals based upon road layout and zoning setbacks. That doesn't mean we can't make our comments made and can't try and create the best subdivision that we can by negotiation with the developer and certainly listening to the residents. In this particular instance, I'd like to just step up a little more and commend the residents who have taken what is clearly a very uncomfortable and unfortunate situation for them and been exceptionally reasonable, far above reasonable. They've been generous in terms of their agreement in accepting something that they frankly could have made a lot more noise about, quite legitimately. So I'd like to commend the residents and express this board's appreciation for your willingness to work with the developer and the developer's willingness, of course, to work with you. And say that, again, hopefully we don't have this situation ever again, here or anywhere else, if we can. But if something does arise, this is certainly an example as to how homeowners, developers, and this board can try and work together to create the best situation out of sometimes something that is very unfortunate. So thank you all for your efforts in resolving this. And with that, anything further from any members of the board? Seeing nothing then, I will entertain a motion.
This is a subdivision modification, so I have a motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve, and I'll say that it's a motion to approve subject to the planning staff conditions and Mr. Bennett's condition as agreed by the developer for 4 monuments along the roadway. That's the motion we have. Do I have a second?
Second?
Again,
I have a motion by Mr. Bennett, a second by Mr. Smith. Any further discussion? Mr. Grandy?
How are we going to ensure that the plan with the 4, that we get to see it, or the chairman gets to see it, or somebody gets to see this before it's endorsed?
We'll all have to sign it.
Well, it has
plan
to be,
itself.
we do have to sign the plan, or at least the majority of us have to sign the plan. So the plan will, the final plan will be made available to the board. We'll come to town hall, to staff's office, and we will review the plan, and everyone will have the opportunity. And if there are any issues that are raised at that time, we will contact Pine Hills, and if necessary, arrange another hearing if we have to. We'll reopen. But at this point, I think we can do that based upon a final plan being submitted, subject, of course, to verification again by the fire department. Is that something you're comfortable with, Mr. Grandy?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So I have the motion second. No further discussion. I will call the roll for a vote. Mr. Donaldson?
yes.
Mr. Grandy?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Again, everyone, thank you very much. Greatly appreciated. The final item on our agenda tonight is a public hearing. It's for the ZBA. It's a special permit for 4160 25 Wellington Road. Richard F. Tachi, major modification, special permit required per section 203-9C to expand a pre-existing non-conforming structure and per section 203-9D1B11, to waive the required side setback to construct an addition. We are advisory to the ZBA on this matter. Good evening.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Chris Sanderson with Merrill Engineers and Land Surveyors, and I am here tonight on behalf of the petitioners, Rich and Jen Tachi, who are also here with us tonight. So we were before this board, I want to say back in December, requesting a special permit involved with a pretty major home renovation of the single-family home located at 25 Wellington. Subsequently, in front of the ZBA in January, where we unanimously got approval for a special permit for expansion of a pre-existing non-conforming structure. I'll briefly kind of describe what the previous plan is and what the change request for major modification is. So up in the upper right-hand corner here is the existing one-story single-family dwelling located on a pre-existing non-conforming lot. So the original plan was to lift the house, pour a full foundation over the entire structure. There's currently no basement in the structure. Set the house back on that, construct a second-story addition over the majority of the existing footprint, and then construct a smaller one-story addition off the front facade of the house. So the reason we requested zoning relief is for this portion of the dwelling over here, which expands beyond the existing footprint and doesn't meet the minimum required 10-foot side yard setback. So that setback was 7 feet in which we requested the relief, which is the same as the existing range line of the house. So again, approved by the ZBA back in January. Fast forward a few months, the Tachis started talking to some contractors, getting pricing for the job, and it was essentially determined that it was more financially viable to do a complete tear down and rebuild. So we're not proposing any changes to basically the final product of the house. The architectural drawings are exactly the same, minus the fact that we are now proposing full demolition of the house and to construct what was already approved in the same footprint, same elevations, same everything. The Tachis did reach out to their neighbors who were previously in support of the original plan, and they're fully on board with the new plan to do the full raise and rebuild. With our filing, we did include some support letters that were signed by the neighbors. This plan also got redistributed to engineering, DPW, and they were satisfied with the plan changes and revisions that we had done in the prior version, because essentially nothing is changing besides the actual demo and construction of the dwelling. I think that pretty much sums it up. More than happy to answer any questions from the board.
Thank you. Bring it to staff.
Thank you. This is a different method of reaching the same outcome. Staff does not have any major concerns here. We would recommend that you consider recommending to the Zoning Board of Appeals approval with the condition that Public Works comments be addressed to the satisfaction of that board, and that all previous conditions of the last approval that was received in January remain in effect.
Very good. Thank you. Before bringing it to the board, I'll open it up to the public if there's anybody who wishes to be heard. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on this matter? I see no one. I don't see anyone else on Zoom, but I'll ask, is there anyone on Zoom who wishes to be heard on this matter?
There is no one else on Zoom.
Okay, very good. Then I will bring it back to the board for questions or comments. Start with you, Mr. Bennett.
I only have a comment that I think this is going to be a nice addition to the neighborhood. I think it's, I've seen the house, I've been by there a few times, and I think this will be a great improvement. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Mr. Smith.
I agree that it fits in well with the neighborhood, and it should be a good addition to have this as a new house. So I think it's a
Appreciate it.
good change.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Grandy?
I have no questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Grandy. Mr. Donaldson?
I have no questions.
Thank you. I have no questions. Again, as staff indicated, this is really just a different way of achieving something that we've already agreed to in the first instance. So I think all we're doing is making a good product a little bit better in the end by making it all new. So without further comment then, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to recommend approval to the ZBA by Mr. Bennett. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Grandy. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the roll. Mr. Donaldson?
Yes.
Mr. Grandy?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Myself, yes.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Appreciate
you
your
very
time.
much.
Thank you.
Good luck again with the ZBA. Is there anything further from any member of the board? Motion to adjourn. I have a motion to adjourn from Mr. Grandy.
Second.
Second from Mr. Bennett. All in favor. Mr. Donaldson?
Yes.
Mr. Grandy?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Thank you all, everyone. This meeting of the planning board is adjourned.